When you speak of expressing what you truly desire, you're already touching a very delicate point in human life, because most people do not really know what they desire. They think they know. They imagine they know. They repeat what culture has taught them to want or what their emotions push them toward in a given moment. But when you look a little closer, you will see that what people call desire is often just a series of compulsions. A spiritually awakened being does not function from compulsion. So naturally, the way such a person expresses desire is fundamentally different. It is softer, quieter, less dramatic, yet infinitely more powerful. You see, when your life is shaped by inner clarity rather than external influence, your desire is not a noisy announcement, it is a natural fragrance. The world may sense it even when you say nothing. And sometimes, sensing that, people ask me, Sadhguru, how should an awakened person declare what he or she wants? I tell them, if you are truly awakened, you will not declare anything, you will simply live it. But since most people are not yet living at that level, let us explore how desire transforms when awareness becomes your foundation. When you live unconsciously, desire feels like a hunger that demands expression. It is like an itch. If you do not scratch it, you feel tormented. You believe you must assert it, protect it, and sometimes even fight for it. But when awareness blossoms, desire becomes something else entirely. It becomes an orientation, a direction, a gentle pull rather than a restless push. You no longer shout your desires into the world as if life is deaf. Instead, you move with such clarity that your very movement becomes your statement. If you observe carefully, you will notice that your deepest desires never needed noise. They needed presence. People often tell me, Sadhguru, I want to manifest this, I want to manifest that. I say, first become a being who can hold desire without distortion. Only then should you think of expressing it, because the way you express desire reveals the level of inner order or inner chaos within you. If your desire comes coated with fear or with agitation, the world will feel that long before they understand the words you are saying. But if it comes from stillness, even a whisper becomes a command to life. In my experience, the most awakened expression of desire is not shaped by longing, it is shaped by clarity. Clarity is desire without distortion. A spiritually awakened person does not desire because something is missing. They desire because something within them is overflowing. This is a very significant shift. When desire comes from lack, it binds you. When it comes from fullness, it liberates you. And when desire liberates you, its expression becomes beautiful, graceful, almost effortless. There is no need to convince anyone, no need to decorate your words, no need to justify or defend. You simply say what is true for you, and you say it without trembling inside. If you are listening to these words right now, you may pause for a moment and ask yourself, how many of my desires come from fullness, and how many come from a sense of deficiency? Just this simple question can change the direction of your life. If you feel inspired, you may even share your reflection, because voicing it can sometimes make your inner landscape clearer. When I was young, before I began speaking publicly, people around me would often ask, why don't you tell the world what you want? Why don't you plan, organize, state your goals? I would simply smile, because at that time, I had already discovered that desire, when expressed too loudly, becomes fragile. The louder you shout, the more you reveal the hollowness within. A true desire, one aligned with your deeper nature, does not need the support of noise. It only needs the support of your awareness, and awareness is a far more potent force than motivation. So when people ask me, Sadhguru, should I speak boldly about what I want? I say, speak truthfully, not boldly. Boldness is an egoic performance. Truthfulness is a spiritual expression. If you can express desire truthfully, without the need to impress, you are already functioning at a higher level of awareness. You must understand this. When your awareness is shallow, you desire like a beggar. When your awareness is deep, you desire like a creator. A creator does not beg life for anything. A creator simply shapes life from within. And because the creator is silent, people assume he has no desire. But that is not true. A spiritually awakened person desires intensely, more intensely than most people can imagine, but that intensity is so refined, so nuanced, that it feels almost invisible. The world does not see the fire, they only see the light. You may wonder, then how does such a person express their desire to others? How do they communicate it? They speak plainly. They speak without drama. They speak from the center of their being. When an awakened being says, "This is what I want," the words do not come from their tongue, they come from their very life energy. So the expression may sound simple, but its impact is profound. Many times when I'm sharing something important, people come to me later and say, "Sadhguru, when you spoke, I felt something shift inside me." This is not because of my choice of words. It is because the words are not separate from my inner state. When your desire is aligned with your inner state, your words carry power. If your desire is disconnected from your inner state, your words become empty. This is why I always say, before expressing what you want, ensure that your wanting comes from stillness, not from agitation. Just sit with your desire for a few moments. Do not rush to express it. See whether it arises from clarity or confusion. If it comes from confusion, it will bring more confusion into your life. If it comes from clarity, it will naturally bring order and direction. Even sharing your desire with someone becomes meaningful when you have first shared it with your own awareness. Now, let us consider what expressing desire really means. For many people, expression means verbalization. They think, if I do not say it, no one will know. But awakened beings rarely rely on verbalization alone. Their action, their demeanor, their choices, their silence, everything becomes an expression. Sometimes your silence expresses your desire more powerfully than your speech ever could. But silence only works when it comes from presence, not from suppression. Many people remain silent not because they are aware, but because they are afraid. That silence has no fragrance. It has only tension. If you remain silent out of fear, your desire becomes twisted. But if you remain silent out of clarity, your desire becomes potent. So the first step toward expressing desire in a spiritually awakened way is simply to remove fear from the process. Fear distorts desire. Awareness liberates it. As you listen, you might notice a small stirring inside you, a recognition that many of your desires have never been expressed from a place of inner stability. Do not judge yourself for this. Simply observe it. The moment you observe your inner process without self-judgment, transformation begins. If you feel inclined, you may even write down what you truly desire, not for anyone else to read, but for your own clarity. Just articulating it internally can be a powerful act. And if you choose to share a bit of it here, that may support your own process of introspection. When I look at people's lives, I see that most suffering comes not from unfulfilled desires, but from unclear desires. They think they want one thing, but they are actually moving towards something else. They verbally express one desire, but energetically express a different desire. This contradiction creates inner friction, but a spiritually awakened person is free of this contradiction. Their inner orientation, their spoken word, and their lived reality all point in the same direction. When all three align, desire becomes a straight path rather than a tangled knot. And when your desire is a straight path, expressing it becomes simple. You say what is needed without anxiety. You act as needed without fear. You receive whatever comes without resistance. This is the elegance of awakened desire. When you come to this state, expressing what you desire no longer feels like an act of seeking permission from the world. It becomes an act of declaration to yourself. Most human beings are constantly negotiating their desires, diluting them, reshaping them to fit expectations, or hiding them because they fear judgment. But someone who has touched a deeper dimension of life does not shrink their desire to fit into the world. Instead, they expand their inner capacity to hold the desire fully. You see, the world does not pressure you nearly as much as your own mind does. The world is simply a reflection of your inner state. If you speak your desire with trembling, the world mirrors the trembling. If you speak it with clarity, the world mirrors the clarity. This is why I often say, the most important person to whom you must express your desire is yourself. Only then should you express it to others. When I speak to people about what they truly want, many of them express desires that are layered with anxiety. Desires that are desperately trying to escape fear rather than move toward possibility. But when awareness grows within you, you recognize that desire does not have to be born from fear. It can be born from a profound sense of possibility. When you express desire from possibility, your words become like seeds. They naturally grow into something. They do not remain empty statements. And if you can hold your desire like a seed, gently, patiently, steadily, without crushing it with expectations, then expression becomes an art. Not a performance, not a strategy, an art. The art of placing your inner truth gently into the world, like placing a lamp in a dark room. There is no noise in lighting a lamp, but its impact is immediate. One of the most beautiful ways an awakened person expresses desire is through unwavering alignment between intention and action. They do not say, "I want this," and then move in the opposite direction. Their life becomes a straight line of purpose. When you live with that kind of alignment, you hardly need to verbalize your desires because your actions speak them louder than words ever could. But still, in day-to-day situations, we must communicate. We must speak to partners, friends, colleagues, communities. So how should a spiritually awakened person communicate desire in these everyday interactions? With simplicity, with honesty, with gentleness. You do not need to wrap your desire in fancy language. You do not need to disguise it. You simply express it as it is, with the same naturalness with which a flower releases its fragrance. If you are listening closely right now, you may find yourself questioning how you have been expressing your own desires until this moment. Perhaps you have been shrinking them. Perhaps you have been inflating them to look impressive. Or perhaps you have been hiding them even from yourself. This is a wonderful moment to reflect. Just take a breath and feel what arises within you. If you feel moved, you may share a little bit of your reflection. When one human being expresses something authentically, it often gives others the permission to look more honestly within themselves. When you express what you truly desire, the most important quality to cultivate is inner stillness. If you speak from agitation, your desire becomes incoherent. If you speak from stillness, even a few words carry weight. Stillness does not mean the absence of thought. It means you are not entangled in your thoughts. Stillness means your thoughts serve your awareness, not the other way around. In this state, desire becomes like a clear stream rather than a turbulent river. Its expression becomes smooth, unobstructed. Many people think stillness means passivity, but that is not so. Stillness is the highest form of intensity. It is an organized intensity. And when you express desire from organized intensity, you naturally influence the fabric of life around you. Life responds not to your words, but to your energy. If your energy is scattered, life mirrors the scattering. If your energy is concentrated, life aligns with that concentration. An awakened being is not special because of their desires. They are special because of the way they hold and express those desires. Even ordinary desires, like wanting to be well, wanting to bring joy to others, wanting to experience life fully, become extraordinary when expressed from a state of inner alignment. The desire itself is not the magic, the consciousness behind it is. This is why spiritual processes always focus first on raising your awareness rather than teaching you how to articulate your wishes. Once your awareness is elevated, expression becomes effortless. Often people come to me and say, "Sadhguru, I don't express what I want because I don't want to upset anyone." I tell them, if your desire is pure, it will not upset anyone. It will only upset the illusions that people hold. And illusions deserve to be upset. Honesty delivered with gentleness is never a threat. It is a gift. But when honesty is delivered with agitation, even truth becomes abrasive. So the question is not whether you should express your desire, but in what state of being you express it. If you can express your desire from a space of inclusiveness, where your words are not laced with selfishness but with clarity, then even those who disagree with you will feel your sincerity. Remember, expressing desire is not about convincing others. It is about revealing your inner orientation. When you express desire with awareness, you are simply saying, "This is the direction in which my life energy naturally flows." People may support you, challenge you, or ignore you, but their reaction is secondary. What matters is that you have aligned your inner and outer lives. This alignment brings a grace to your actions that others can feel. Even if they do not understand you logically, they sense the coherence, and because coherence is rare in this world, they are drawn to it. If you are truly spiritually awakened, your desire becomes an offering, not a demand. You express it not as a command to the world, but as a fragrance of your own being. When you say, "This is what I seek," it is not a cry of desperation, but an invitation to life. It is like saying to existence, "If this aligns with the natural order, let it unfold. And if not, I will remain joyful regardless." This non-attachment does not weaken your desire, it strengthens it. Desire becomes weak when it is filled with desperation. It becomes powerful when it is free of fear. Fearless desire is the mark of an awakened being. When your desire becomes fearless, something very beautiful happens. It no longer binds you to outcomes. Most people believe desire is dangerous because they have only known desire mixed with attachment, anxiety, or insecurity. But when desire is purified through awareness, it becomes a compass rather than a chain. It shows you direction without imprisoning you in expectation. This is why a spiritually awakened person can express desire with such natural ease. They do not fear being denied, nor do they cling to the result. They simply articulate what arises from the depth of their being and allow life to respond in its own timing. And in that relaxed state, life responds far more generously than when you cling with desperation. When you stop chasing, life begins to offer. When you stop demanding, life begins to reveal possibilities you had never noticed. I have seen that when people awaken even slightly, their relationship with desire changes so dramatically that those around them become confused. They say, "You seem so calm. Don't you want anything anymore?" But calmness is not the absence of desire. It is the absence of conflict. The awakened person still wants, still chooses, still moves toward what matters, but they do it without tearing themselves apart. Their desire is like a gentle flame, steady and bright, not a wildfire that destroys everything in its path. When you express your desire from this steady flame, your words acquire a certain weight, not because they are forceful, but because they are rooted. Even a soft-spoken intention becomes powerful when it is grounded in inner stability. Now, how exactly should you express what you desire once awareness has become your foundation? First, speak from honesty. Not socially acceptable honesty, not polite honesty, but existential honesty. This means you speak from the deepest truth you can access within yourself in that moment. If your desire is still evolving, you can express that too. There is great integrity in saying, "This is what I want right now, according to the clarity available to me." You do not need to pretend to be finished, perfect, or certain. An awakened person does not derive strength from certainty. They derive strength from authenticity. When you express desire authentically, others may not always agree, but they will feel your sincerity, because sincerity is hard to ignore. Second, express your desire without blaming anyone for its existence. Many people communicate desire by pointing out what is wrong with others. They say, "I want this because you didn't give me that," or "I need this because life has been unfair." This is not desire. This is resentment wearing a mask. A spiritually awakened being expresses desire as a personal orientation, not as an accusation. They say, "This is the direction I wish to move," not, "You must move out of my way." When desire is free from blame, it becomes graceful. It becomes a bridge rather than a boundary, and others feel invited rather than threatened. Third, express desire without shrinking it. Many people belittle their own desires because they fear judgment or rejection. But when you minimize your desire, you minimize yourself. You communicate to the world that you are not worthy of fullness. A spiritually awakened being does not inflate desire to impress and does not shrink desire to be accepted. They express it exactly as it is. And that precision has its own beauty. It has the beauty of truth. When you express your desire at its true size, not bigger or smaller, it fits perfectly into life's unfolding. Fourth, remain receptive after expressing it. Expression is not the final step. Receptivity is. When you release your desire into the world, listen to the movement of life around it. Observe how people respond, how situations shift, how your own inner state evolves. Life is always communicating, but most people express and then immediately panic. They do not wait for the echo. A spiritually awakened being expresses desire and then listens to others, to circumstances, to intuition, to subtle changes within themselves. This listening allows desire to mature. It allows life to participate in the unfolding. And it prevents you from becoming rigid, which is the hallmark of unconscious desire. Above all, express your desire with inclusiveness. The more expanded your sense of self becomes, the more your desire naturally includes the well-being of others, not because you are trying to be noble, but because you experience others as part of yourself. When you speak from this inclusiveness, your desire becomes larger than personal gratification. It becomes an expression of life seeking fulfillment through you. And when desire reaches this dimension, its expression becomes effortless. It flows like a river that does not need directions. It follows the contours of life with ease. If you look within yourself right now, you may sense that there are desires you have never expressed because you believed they were too small or too large, too personal or too impractical. But if you allow yourself a moment of honest reflection, you may find that the deepest desires within you are neither selfish nor impossible. They are simply waiting for you to be courageous enough to articulate them without fear. You do not need to announce them to the world like a proclamation. You can begin by acknowledging them silently within yourself. Even that simple act begins to align your inner energies. And if you feel inclined, you can share a fragment of your own desire with me here. Not because I need to hear it, but because speaking it may help you clarify it. Many who listen to these words have told me that even expressing one sentence of their true desire brings a certain liberation. If you feel that stirring within you, let it arise. It is not a command, it is an invitation. To conclude, let me offer this. A spiritually awakened person expresses desire not through force, but through presence. Their desire is not a shout into existence, but a quiet alignment with life's deeper currents. They do not demand, they declare. They do not cling, they choose. They do not fear outcomes, they participate fully. And because their expression comes from a state of inner clarity, life responds to them in ways that seem miraculous to others, but are simply natural consequences of alignment. If you can bring even a small measure of this awareness into your own life, your desires will stop being sources of confusion and will become sources of direction. Your expressions will stop being acts of negotiation and will become acts of authenticity. And your life itself will become an ongoing dialogue between your inner truth and the vast intelligence of existence. In that dialogue, desire is not an obstacle. It is a pathway. It is a movement toward the fulfillment of the human possibility. If these words resonate with you, let them not remain mere ideas. Allow them to sink in, to shape your next expression, your next choice, your next inner clarity. And if you feel moved, you may share your reflection, because every reflection deepens the journey. A life lived with awareness transforms even the smallest desire into a step toward liberation. And when your desires become aligned with the deepest truth within you, your very presence becomes a teaching, your very expression becomes a blessing, and your very life becomes a possibility for the world. This is the way a spiritually awakened human being expresses what they truly desire, with clarity, with sincerity, with stillness, and with an unwavering alignment between who they are within and how they move in the world without. When this alignment becomes your natural way of being, desire will no longer trouble you. It will guide you. It will shape you. It will liberate you. And you will discover that what you truly seek is not separate from what life itself seeks to express through you.